this is not going to be our usual Friday afternoon speaker presentation, so it's going to be really very interesting. Even in very progressive and relatively affluent Boulder Valley School District, there are students who lack opportunities for STEM opportunities. And I'm sure all you are familiar with science, technology, engineering, and math, that acronym that we use. These gentlemen are the creators of an organization, and it actually is an organization, a nonprofit organization, and there's information on the table about that. They have created an organization that is rooted within the Boulder Valley School District. They are students, they're rising seniors at Peaks to Peak within the BVSD school system. But they are trying to bring real world opportunities to students. And so they're really augmenting what it is that BVSD already does. It was founded by actually Dipan and Vyom, and Shreyas has joined them more recently. So they are a mighty trio here. Dipan is going to speak about the engineering and research aspect of their program, and Vyom will speak about their efforts to connect with leaders in our community, and Shreyas will talk about supporting students with hands-on service. So you will be inspired, and I promise you, you will have more energy when you leave here than when you came, because that's what these three gentlemen are able to do. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I'd like to start by encouraging everyone to think back to when you're in high school. Think back to when you're in high school, and did you ever get a chance to meet with a Nobel laureate? How about a CEO of a billion-dollar company, maybe even a founder of an international organization, and ask them questions directly? For many students today, STEM is mainly taught in the classroom through lectures, textbooks, and assignments. Yes, it's important, but it doesn't get to the real reality of what is happening in the STEM world today. Dipan and I were both very fortunate to have experienced some of those opportunities, but we realized that many students actually don't. So we asked ourselves, what if every student had access to mentors, hands-on projects, and real-world STEM experience? That's why we created Ascent STEM. We are for students, by students. Before we continue, I think it's important to first introduce who we are and why we're here today. So, my name is Vyom Jain, and along with Dipan Dangi, we co-founded Ascent STEM. Earlier this year, we are very fortunate to have Shreyas Sundaresan join our team. We are high school students attending Peak to Peak Charter School. Before we continue, I think it's also important to clarify what STEM means. Constance already said that in her opening introductions, but just one more time. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, hence the acronym STEM. So as we go throughout this presentation, you're going to hear the word STEM. This is what we're referring to. So our mission is clear: to empower youth through student-driven STEM initiatives that spark creativity, build technical skills, and deliver measurable benefits across Boulder County. So a quick overview of our presentation today. I will be talking about who we are, our guiding principles, and overview. Then I'll pass it on to Dipan. He will talk more about our work inside logistics and implementation. And lastly, Shreyas will talk about our community impact and real impact as well. So who are we? Why are we here today, and what's our main goal? To give some context, across the country, students are becoming increasingly disconnected from STEM pathways and career opportunities. Many students never get the chance to meet with a scientist, an engineer, or even an entrepreneur. Many don't know the opportunities that exist. where to find mentors, or how to turn their ideas into real impacts. Along with this, industries continue to face growing demand for greater and more experienced STEM professionals. This isn't just a lack of talent, it's a lack of access, opportunity, and exposure. According to the Boys and Girls Club of America, 75% of Gen Z students are interested in STEM, but only 29% pursue a STEM career. Along with that, according to the National Science Foundation, only 18% of underserved students actually join STEM extracurricular activities. And along with that, only fewer than 1 in 2 secondary science classes actually emphasize how to do STEM, indicating that STEM is mainly done in the classroom. But this isn't just about statistics, it's about real first-hand experiences that we've all faced. To our why are we here today? Opportunity changes lives. Opportunity changes lives. A single conversation with a mentor, a hands-on project, or an exposure to a new field can completely change the direction of a student's future. Both Dipan and I spent years searching for these opportunities, spending hard amount of time just looking and finding these different opportunities. But many students don't have that luxury. Many students have jobs. Many students have family responsibilities or lack of resources entirely. This isn't fair, which is why we created Ascent STEM, to address that every student, no matter their background, has access to STEM and make sure that they can learn and succeed in STEM. That's why we exist. We have 3 core pillars that shape every single event, every single project that we do. The 3 pillars of inclusion, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Innovation, meaning to encourage students to think and creatively and tackle real-world challenges. Inclusion, to make sure that all students, no matter the background or experience, feels involved and connected into a greater mission. And lastly, entrepreneurship, empowering students to really turn their ideas into real, tangible impact. These values shape every program, every partnership, and every event that Ascent STEM creates. Now, moving to our next segment with Dipan, he will talk more about our work and implementation.
All right. Thank you so much, Vyom, for breaking down the systematic challenges here inside Boulder County. Now that you understand why we exist, I want to take you through what we actually do. So, there we go. Yeah. When analyzing public or private educational initiatives, you often see a significant chunk of capital swallowed up by administrative overhead, software seats, or marketing. We have eliminated that entirely. To date, Ascent STEM has raised over $3,000 through micro grants, targeted community sponsorships, and donations. Because our core leadership is student-led, we maintain a strict 0% overhead on administration. This means that every single dollar we receive is completely uncompromised, as it goes directly into purchasing raw hardware, buying filaments, sponsoring community workshop materials, and procuring projects for the youth we serve. And how do we put that physical hardware to use, you may ask? It starts with our core technical labs. Here at Ascent STEM, one of the biggest things we do is host labs and workshops so that students can gain real, hands-on, industry standard experience. Now, in a traditional science environment, you walk into a classroom and you'll likely see students reading from a textbook or shifting through slides on a computer. We believe that approach really underestimates what young minds are capable of. Our technical workshops introduce professional, industry standard tool sets that are completely absent from regular high school curriculums. We explicitly teach PCB designs using KiCad advanced parametric 3D modeling using Autodesk Fusion, and bare metal firmware using VS Code. To give you a real-world look at how this plays out, we have collaborated with an existing CAD club at a high school to host specialized workshops in collaboration with them. Instead of just showing them buttons on a screen, we pushed them into design complex mechanical mechanisms from scratch in Fusion 360. We took their actual CAD files home, 3D printed them overnight, and then brought it to them the next day so that they could see what the real-world impact of their work actually was. Another time, we had a student build a keyboard because she couldn't afford one, and she thought it was an amazing opportunity. Once a student masters these industry tool sets, we don't just leave them with minor experience. We transition them into full project development, which is what brings me to the next thing we do. Student-led project incubation. This brings us to our model. Here, we challenge students to step into the roles of principal engineers. They independently pinpoint a technical passion or real-world problem, and Ascent STEM provides the funding, industry networks, and mentorship to make it happen. We've filtered these projects through a rigorous standard. They must be entirely open source, and they must be shippable, meaning they cannot remain an abstract idea, and they must result in a physical working product or a document. As you can see listed on our slide, our students have built everything from custom drones and flight controllers, even going as far as to building custom novel 3D printers from scratch. We are proving that high schoolers can build high-tier electrical and mechanical designs from scratch. But we know that single project incubation isn't the only way to make a difference. Sometimes, an existing team just needs structural backing to thrive, which brings us to our booster initiatives. Our booster initiatives, as we like to call it, are focused on maximizing community leverage. We realize that many talented student teams or clubs across Boulder County have the drive, but completely lack the organizational structure, networks, or administrative support. Through our booster framework, we don't just hand out checks. We act as an advisory partner. We provide mentorship, introduce teams to institutional partners, and navigate logistics. For example, as shown on the slides, we hosted an independent VEX robotics team all the way to competing at the World Championship, for which they placed top 5 internationally. We co-created a student rocketry team whose custom rocket design has won major awards, as you can also see. Now, while engineering physical hardware is a huge pillar of our work, we also make sure to build a pathway for students who want to focus strictly on pure scientific research. This is what brings me to my research support section. For many students, entering the world of collegiate or federal research feels completely gatekept by wealth, legacy, and finances. Our institutional research support program is designed to break those gates down. We identify highly motivated, research-oriented students and embed them directly into professional, academic, and scientific labs. We do this by facilitating direct introductions to university faculty and offering targeted microgrants to students in need who use it, namely underserved students. Because of this ecosystem, our students have engaged in advanced polymer synthesis research right down in the labs of CU Boulder, all the way to designing hardware that was meant to be used for space, both of which you can see on the right here. Now, moving on, to complement this hands-on lab work, we routinely bring top minds to work directly with our student body. This brings me to my guest speakers page, where we connect directly with world-class expertise here at Ascent STEM. One of the most defining aspects of our speaker ecosystem is that we host community leader lectures to expose students directly to the career trajectories of global leaders, and give them the chance to walk up there, shake their hand, and maybe even get an opportunity. We have brought in industry giants like Brian Leach, a prominent Denver CEO and the founder and CEO of Ibotta. On the academic and humanitarian front, we hosted a massive talk featuring Dr. Thomas Cech, a Nobel laureate in chemistry, which became the largest single STEM presentation in peak-to-peak history. We even hosted our very own Professor Bernard Amati, the founder of Engineering Without Borders. Hearing directly from Dr. Amati showed us that engineering isn't just about lucrative corporate roles, but rather about using technology skills to solve acute humanitarian crises globally. And lastly, we have competitions. Now, we host collaborative, single afternoon engineering-style hackathon formatted competitions. We give students a real-world constraint, such as prototyping tsunami prevention seawalls or testing the tensile strength of plastic composites. We provide them with a strict box of physical components, give them a few hours, and let them experiment. It teaches them to embrace failure as a structural part of engineering and lets them get creative with what they do. Winners walk away with practical incentives like tools, calipers, and 3D printing supplies. Now, while these events are incredible for students who can physically reach our spaces, the next major thing is focusing outward on the broader community. This is where I want to talk about our upcoming work, where we are creating STEM kits or packages for underserved youth in combination with Sister Carmen Community Center. We recognize that transportation barriers and work schedules may prevent students from coming to our spaces on weekends or afternoons. To solve this, we're partnering with, like I said, Sister Carmen, who will assist with funding and distribution. These kits will have microprocessors, electronic sensors, and motor components. Instead of a rigid kit with one outcome, we include thoroughly documented open source curriculum and hardware guides that give these youth and kids free reign over what they do with that. They can build a drone, or they can build something completely different. By leveraging Sister Carmen, we can drop high-level engineering opportunities straight into the living rooms of families who need them most. Now, you've seen that we do a lot, but that also means there's a lot of impact and implications involved in our community. To speak more about that, we have our Vice President, Shreyas Sundaresan.
All right, thank you, Dipan. So I'm going to be talking about the impact of everything we've actually done, but first I'd like to address some of the organizations and people that we've worked with throughout our time as a nonprofit. So throughout our time, we've been working with a lot of organizations behind the scenes, and most notably the Planet Project, who have been our mentors since before we can even remember. And they've been with us since the start of this journey, and they've been helping us through everything, and we could not be more grateful. And then we've also partnered with organizations like the American Institute of Aeronautics and Aviation, as well as Hack Club, who actually fiscally sponsor us. And like Dipan mentioned, we're also going to be partnering later with Sister Carmen to help distribute our kits. And then besides from organizations, there's also a lot of individuals that we've worked with, like Bo over here, and our own Professor Bernard Amati. And it's with their help that our dream of Ascent STEM can actually find its legs, and they're the reason that Ascent STEM is what it is today. So I thought I'd take the time to shout them out real quick. So we've told you everything that we've done, but what are the actual impacts on the community that it's had? Well, at our own school, we've brought over 5 STEM clubs from as little as 5 members to over 100. And our very own Ascent STEM club, which is now the club with the highest active member count out of any student-led club in the entire school. As well as that, we also funded a struggling speech and debate club, which is now nationally ranked, and we sponsored 2 robotics teams that are now placed top 5 internationally. Oh, sorry. As for our personal contributions, we've impacted 900 plus students, and that number comes from things like our individual counts at our meetings, plus attendance at workshops and other events. And then we've sponsored over 35 projects, and our organization has accumulated over 2,650 service hours. But I'm also a strong believer that you can't really look at the community impact unless you actually look at what the community has said to you. So I'd like to bring in a story. Dipan previously mentioned that there was a woman who built a keyboard at one of our workshops. But what he didn't mention is that after she had come up to us and told us that she had been working 2 jobs to provide for her family, and she'd been wanting to build that keyboard for 6 months. And our workshop was the first place where she actually found the resources necessary to do so. And that's not the only one, because there have been so many people who come up to us and told us in some way, shape, or form that we gave them an opportunity that they never even thought was possible before. And the reason why we work so hard is because seeing people like that girl's eyes light up after seeing their finished product, which they never even thought would happen, is one of the most fulfilling experiences of all of our careers, and we look to find that in every single person that we help. But our vision goes past just Boulder, because we believe that STEM opportunity should be something that is countrywide for all students. So as we move into a new chapter of our lives into college and we start moving throughout the country, we plan on bringing Ascent STEM with us to those places. Because it's not, access to STEM shouldn't be a local thing. It should be something that every single student in the country has access to. But of course, Boulder will always be our main concern, which is why we have a succession plan in place with multiple capable underclassmen who have already agreed to take up Ascent STEM and make it into something even better than it is right now. But we aren't just here because we've seen the issue. We're here because we've lived through it. Dipan and Vyom have friends from schools where over 95% of the student body qualify for free or reduced lunch. And I personally come from a middle school that was so poor that we weren't even allowed to bring backpacks because people would steal things like toilet paper from them. And coming from a background like that, I can tell you for certain that I never would have found these opportunities if I didn't go to Peak and I didn't meet the people that I did. And while I may have found my passion for STEM, so many of my friends and the people who made me who I am today will never have that opportunity unless someone is there to give it to them. And that's why Ascent STEM exists, because whether they're a friend, a peer, or a complete stranger, every single person in our community deserves to have access to STEM. And they deserve to find a love for something that they might not even knew existed. But of course, when we give so much to the community, there's always things that the community could do for us in return. So there's two main things that we need right now. One, most of our things that we do require financial expenditure, which is why every single dollar that we have is directly correlated to the amount of people that we can help. So any funding that we get is very crucial. So on our last slide, you'll see a bunch of QR codes. One of them is for a donations page, which you can scan and give any donations if you're willing. And also, we want to build a strong connection and support system. So if anyone would be willing to give us guidance in any way, or even come be a guest speaker, or just point us to someone who could give us beneficial advice, it would be so appreciated by all of us. And with that, I'd like to close with this quote from Scott Adams, who said that engineers like to solve problems, and if there are no problems, they will create their own. And with Ascent STEM, we will make sure that every single student, no matter of their circumstances and no matter of their background, they will have the opportunity to create and solve their own problems. Thank you very much. So everyone got a brochure or a piece of paper on their table. We can always email it to you if you want that. And we're open for any questions you might have.
Great.
Well, listening to guys like you gives me faith in our future, even with all the bad news we're dealing with. So thank you very much. My question concerns a tsunami that's washing over education now. And that, of course, is AI. And its impact is being felt up and down the line. And so it could be a whole nother talk, but I'd like you to respond. The students in New Jersey that confronted this, that I heard on NPR, said that the main thing they're searching for is agency and not being passive consumers. So regarding STEM, how do you look at AI and its impact and what you're going to do about it?
Want to check my If I understood your question correctly, you're talking about the impact of AI and its impact on education and the community. Is that correct? Perfect. I think we all believe that we should incorporate AI into our work. Whether we like it or we don't. AI is an influential part of what we do, the work we do, and shaping the future of what STEM will look like. We should utilize AI, and that's what we've already started to do in our own projects. We've had a student who actually built an AI study tool for students who want to study for tests for certain subjects, but they don't want to pay money like $500, $600 for a online program. They built a free STEM study tool that they can use and that anyone in the community could use. So we're incorporating AI in the projects themselves and ensuring that using AI to make sure that even more students are impacted and supported.
Yeah, we recognize that AI is playing a big part in a lot of different industries, particularly in STEM. So we've taken a big leap to incorporate that, like Vyom was saying, in a lot of our work. And we're, at one of our previous competitions, we also used AI to help judge and grade. And then we also have made sure that all of our youth and our students are familiar with what AI is and how to use it to some extent. So yes, it's playing a big part in what we do, and it's definitely evolving.
Hi, I'm very excited about what you're doing and will be happy to volunteer to be a guest speaker. I started off myself as a math student, went on to become a Bell Labs engineer, did 3 tech ventures, was the CIO of the state. However, statistics are showing that women in STEM are not really represented. I mean, even if you go to the National Center for Women in Information Technology, they have just 25% of new IT-related students being female. And so I'm wondering what you're specifically doing to include more women in your programs, as I see 3 men up there, and your pictures were mostly men. All of your scientific people speaking were all men. So tell me about it.
Yeah. That is a very valid question. To give you some context, one of the clubs that we're talking about, it is fully student. It's a fully student-run club by women, actually, at our school. It's a very successful aerospace club. We've also had a bunch of females who are interested in STEM who want to dive into our initiative and have spoken about, and this is what Shreyas covered earlier, about underclassmen taking the next steps in Ascent STEM. We've had women who are also interested in leading the next chapter of our nonprofit. So we are making sure to incorporate, and of course on the keyboard too, we want to also ensure that that's a very valid point, that women and all are feeling supported.
Yeah, I would also like to add on that our school has a Society of Women Engineers that we've frequently partnered up with. In fact, our most recent workshop was actually in partnership with them. And to actually combat this concern, as we had this in mind towards the beginning, we actually looked at the numbers, like the genders, for 2 of our meetings, I think, and it averaged out to 42% female student body. So yes, there is room for a little bit of improvement, but I think that to some extent, it also comes down to the makeup of the school itself and factors like those. But yes, we are working on it.
Excellent. Sorry.
Good afternoon. Great presentation. I've known those 3 guys for about a few years now. And I sat down with all 3 of them over time, and I remember when the idea of Ascent STEM was just a small idea. And what you have created there is remarkable. It also shows us that creativity and leadership is getting younger and younger by the year. I don't know about you guys, but you know, when I studied at CU, I was the same age as the students when I left. They were much younger. I think that it's just amazing to see what you are doing. They are high school students. whoa, we need to take them very seriously. And these are, I can almost bet to whoever that those people are going, the three of them are going to be leaders. And they are going to be successful in life, whatever they do. It's really brilliant to see that. And I think we need to applaud and support them in one way, in donation or in helping them. They need guidance, of course, but they have that special, something in their brain, in them to succeed. And now, I don't like the quote that you wrote about engineers, that we don't create problems. Believe me, there are enough problems out there, so we don't need to create some more. So I may want to remove that. You may upset a few engineers in the audience. But I think it's really remarkable what you have done. My question to you, or a couple of remarks. STEM. STEM is fine. I prefer STEAM, which A has to do with the right brain, right side of the brain, the arts. And I think that engineers are artists, and many artists are engineers as well. So changing STEM to STEAM. Another question I have is, do you get support from the principal of your school?
For your second question, the school actually cut off funding for most of the clubs and support. So we actually get no support from the school whatsoever when it comes to this. So everything that we do is all of our three making.
And do you have faculty members?
Yeah. So that's the main reason why we actually do those things where we go and sponsor clubs, because the school doesn't do it anymore.
I know, that's a problem there. The schools don't do enough. And you guys are showing us that, we need to disrupt traditional education to address the problems of the 21st century. And the way I look at it is business development, helping people, but you're also disrupting the good way education. And it needs to be disturbed because traditional education is constipated, it's congested, the way I look at it. So you guys need to applaud what you are doing in giving an alternative to education as usual. Thank you.
I just want to include one more thing real quick. Sorry. I think it's also important to understand that, yes, there's funding, and although all the clubs got their funding and support cut, it's also important that we are not only funding them, but also providing the structure. I think that as high school students, you're now entering into more creative fields, and we've always been taught to do things in a certain way in the classroom. So I think it's also very important when it comes to structure, making sure students still feel supported, but they have freedom to do limitless opportunities and limitless things. So.
We have time for just one short question.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving us this wonderful presentation. You're doing a wonderful job of addressing the TE, the technology, and the engineering parts of the STEM model. I'm not sure that you're addressing all of the sciences. And I've come out of healthcare, and healthcare is also a scientific enterprise. I wonder if you're doing anything in the biosciences or if there are other clubs in your school that are.
So, obviously, there's always room for improvement, and right now we're obviously expanding. But one of our fronts that touches the medical sector a little bit more and the sciences a little bit more, is our research and institutional support, which, I mean, as I mentioned, we had some material science work and some space work going, but right now we're also actually have an interested student in the biomedical field, and Shreyas, our vice president, is also interested in that area. So we're actively trying to incorporate more of that. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
In fact, we want to. The main reason I actually joined Ascent STEM was to bring science opportunities to people. So.
We want to thank you for your presentation today. You guys have done a great job, and we're very appreciative. And I just want to mention a couple things. One, the founders of this country, that's a long time ago, believed in public education. They could have never imagined what you guys are up to, because you've taken public education and you are doing the job that hasn't been done by others. So we're very, very grateful. Rotary has been trying to eradicate polio in the world for 50 plus years. And in your name, each of your names, we're going to give 100 doses of the polio vaccine to the Polio Eradication Fund. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Clap.